KWAP's Wakaf Land project to boost elderly welfare. Government distributes bantuan wang ehsan to flood-affected households. Good evening and salam Malaysia Madani. You're watching Malaysia Tonight. I'm Otto Othman. Kumpulan Wang Persaraan Diperbadankan or KWAP is identifying potential land as wakaf land development to build independent retirement homes for low-income public sector pensioners. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said the initiative would be carried out in collaboration with each state Islamic Religious Council, Department of Wakaf, Zakat and Haji and Yayasan Wakaf Malaysia. Speaking at the launching ceremony of the Mai Pesara Carnival, the Premier said KWAP has been engaging with stakeholders to explore and identify lands that have the potential to be used for independent home development. His speech was read by Second Finance Minister Datuk Seri Amir Hamzah Azizan.
Inisiatif ini juga selari dengan program Gear Up yang diterajui oleh Kementerian Kewangan untuk menaikkan lantai darjat hidup rakyat dan bersesuaian dengan hasrat Kerajaan Madani untuk terus mendukung kesejahteraan para pesara.
Datuk Seri Anwar said the government is confident that the strategic cooperation of the agencies involved would ensure that the initiative is successfully implemented, thus supporting the social and economic security of senior citizens. During the tabling of Budget 2025 in October, the Premier announced that KWAP would provide 300 million ringgit to increase the development of wakaf land to build independent retirement homes for the elderly or low-income retirees. Amendments to the Communications and Multimedia Act 1998, Act 588, the first proposal since it was enacted 26 years ago, will be tabled in Parliament this Monday. Communications Minister Fahmi Fadil said the proposed amendments would include improvements to the scope of Section 233 relating to the improper use of network facilities or services to prevent its misuse. He said the amendments would also touch on aspects of social media, industrial development and network security. Meanwhile, when asked about the progress of registration for the licensing of social media platforms, which will take effect on January 1st, Fahmi said he had asked all platform providers to be briefed on the government's efforts to strengthen internet platforms.
Setakat ni kita belum diproseskan lagi kerana kita baru terbitkan kod tata laku dan saya telah minta supaya dalam bulan Disember, terutama separuh pertama bulan Disember, platform-platform ini diberikan taklimat, satu tentang draft mutakhir, draft akhir kod tata laku. Kedua, kita akan bawa ke Parlimen pada hari Isnin ini insya-Allah.
Commenting on Australia's move to pass a law banning individuals under the age of 16 from using social media, Fahmi said the government is always following and examining the steps and efforts in many other countries, not just Australia. Interaction and dialogue, two tools capable of bridging divides, fostering understanding and uniting people as one, serve as the foundation in a harmonious society. National Unity Minister Dato' Aaron Ago Dagang said without the two elements, mistrust festers, conflicts escalate and opportunities for unity diminish. He urged all parties to adopt a proactive approach and implement strategies that empower interaction and dialogue between religious groups and communities.
Down to the public. I think that is being live streamed.
Malaysia, under the auspices of the Ministry of National Unity, is committed to establishing a multi-faith, multi-ethnic and multicultural society, not only in Southeast Asia but globally. And to this end, a national unity policy has been implemented to promote and preserve unity through targeted strategies embedding into the fabric of our culture and daily life.
Dato' Aaron said interaction is the thread that weaves together the diverse tapestry of the society. Dialogue, on the other hand, is the medium through which people articulate their values resolve conflicts, and chart a path towards collective progress. A total of 51.43 million kilograms of recycled goods with a total sales value of 18.309 million ringgit was successfully collected nationwide through the implementation of the Trash to Cash program from March 2020 to last October. Now, this remarkable achievement is a testament to the growing public awareness and participation in recycling initiatives. Deputy Housing and Local Government Minister Dato' Aiman Athira Sabu said the empowerment of recycling culture was also expanded by establishing 100 locations of drive-through recycling centres in 7 states, with a collection of 3 million kilograms of recycled goods recorded.
Engagement kita dengan masyarakat supaya menjadi public awareness, mereka tahu apa yang ada, apa aktiviti-aktiviti di bawah SW Corp. Kita tidak mahu menjadi satu program yang hanya berada di atas, tetapi kita nak membumi sebab apa yang menjadi sasaran kita nak 40% kadar kita semula dilencongkan daripada 40%. Semua itu perlu kerjasama semua pihak, termasuk separation at source adalah untuk orang-orang di rumah contohnya.
The federal government has started distributing 1,000 ringgit in bantuan wang ihsan to heads of households affected by floods nationwide since yesterday. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi said the assistance would be distributed in phases. He said the aid was distributed to each head of the household who moved to a temporary relief centre and in accordance with the conditions determined by the National Disaster Management Agency, NADMA.
Saya harap pengagihan bantuan ini, terutama dari bantuan tunai ini, akan dapat diatur gerak dengan penuhnya, dan kita tidak mahu ada di kalangan ketua isi rumah yang berpindah ke pusat undang sementara dan mengikut syarat-syarat yang ditentukan oleh NADMA yang tidak mendapat bantuan.
Datuk Sri Dr. Ahmad Zahid also assured that the government has sufficient allocation to distribute the bantuan wang ihsan to affected families nationwide. In fact, he said Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim will increase the allocation for the cash assistance if the number of heads of households exceeds the allocation provided. The federal government has also asked state governments to also work on providing assistance and emergency funds to residents who have suffered major losses, such as damage to their homes and household appliances. The Transport Ministry, MOT, has formed a special task force. This is to coordinate flood relief efforts, especially in the East Coast states, in collaboration with the National Disaster Management Agency, NADMA. Minister Anthony Loke said the efforts include mobilizing assets from agencies such as the Road Transport Department and the Marine Department to support the operation. He said the task force led by the ministry's Deputy Secretary General will work with NADMA to determine the assistance that can be provided. This will ensure that ministry resources are deployed efficiently and aligned with NADMA to prevent wastage. Loke also said the floods had disrupted several transportation networks, particularly in Kelantan, where railway tracks have been submerged. Meanwhile, Loke, who is also a Seremban Member of Parliament, said the Kampung Angkat program aims to assist residents by upgrading public infrastructure and basic amenities, especially those damaged by the previous floods. The initiatives include building retaining walls, improving drainage systems to reduce flood risks, and upgrading access roads and slopes. Human Resources Minister Stephen Sim Chi Keong called on employers to empathize and compromise with employees affected by disasters such as floods. He emphasized that employers cannot arbitrarily deduct wages, as this governed by the Employment Act 1955 in Peninsular Malaysia and the Labour Ordinance for Sabah and Sarawak. Explaining further, Stephen Sim said wages cannot be deducted except as specified by law, such as for regular tax deductions and employees' provident fund. He added that the ministry is ready to assist in ensuring proper work arrangements and that any specific actions related to salary and work arrangements during disasters can be addressed harmoniously.
Keadaan banjir dan sebagainya. Saya minta supaya kalau ada majikan yang perlu membuat penyelarasan kerja, mungkin kehadiran ataupun aturan kerja anjar, contohnya dia bekerja dari rumah ataupun cuti-cuti khusus dan khas, saya minta supaya kalau ada isu-isu yang memerlukan bimbingan dan nasihat, majikan maupun pekerja boleh tampil ke pejabat-pejabat Jabatan Tenaga Kerja.
He also said the government understands that disasters are beyond anyone's control and therefore compromise is needed to foster a harmonious relationship. The Ministry of Women, Family and Community Development KPWKM is ready to deploy additional personnel to assist in managing the needs of flood evacuees in the affected states. Minister Datuk Sri Nancy Shukri said the deployment would depend on the current needs and requirements from the state governments involved.
Kita telah memohon dengan NADMA untuk melicinkan perjalanan itu sebab ada kawasan-kawasan perjalanan itu ada roadblock, takut memang roadblock itu untuk keselamatan ya. Jadi maka kita sudah mohon, saya maklum dalam kabinet semalam untuk mendapat bantuan daripada pihak yang berkuasa terutama sekali NADMA supaya mereka membantu perjalanan kita punya petugas-petugas kita, dan kita memang dari hari ke hari ini memang sentiasa memerhati, takut ada lagi yang memerlukan penambahan petugas kita.
According to the minister, additional personnel from the ministry were sent to the worst-hit state, Kelantan, yesterday. The Communications Ministry has activated its Flood Relief Fund. This is to provide immediate assistance to ministry personnel affected by disaster. Now, Minister Fahmi Fadil said the activation of the fund, established in 2022, is intended to ease the burden of 54 ministry staff identified as impacted by the ongoing floods.
Saya juga telah minta pihak bernama untuk meneliti 13 wartawan yang terkesan akibat banjir, dan kita akan usahakan juga bantuan melalui tabung kasih Hawana. Dan insya-Allah saya akan bincang dengan MC-MC dan juga Jabatan Penerangan untuk mengerahkan pasukan komuniti madani dari negeri-negeri yang tidak terkesan ataupun negeri-negeri yang berjiran untuk membantu dalam usaha pembersihan selepas air surut nanti. Dan MC-MC juga akan susuli dengan sejumlah bantuan yang mereka akan umumkan nanti.
Fahmi further said that 124 transmitter stations have been affected by the floods and 47 National Information Dissemination Centres could not operate due to facility damage. A total of 23 Madani communities in Terengganu have also been impacted, and the Information Department is still assessing the situation in other states. The Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission, MCMC, has implemented proactive measures to address telecommunications coverage issues in flood-affected areas. MCMC said efforts include coordinating repairs to communications infrastructure to ensure residents remain connected during the disaster. To optimize internet coverage at flood relief centres, MCMC is conducting coverage tests to identify locations with issues and take necessary actions. Additionally, MCMC is coordinating information with district and state disaster committees to identify high-risk flood zones, ensuring the safety of service providers during maintenance works. The Commission also reported that early flood warning information was being disseminated to users in collaboration with the National Security Council and mobile network operators through various channels to help people stay updated on flood conditions nationwide. Furthermore, MCMC has advised the use of unaffected National Information Dissemination Centres to access the Internet where necessary. In response to the current floods, several banks have implemented a range of support measures for the affected customers. They include moratoriums on loan repayments, free replacement of lost documents, and tailored financing solutions for individuals, small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, and micro enterprises. The CIMB Group provides the CIMB Flood Relief Plan, which includes a 6-month payment deferral for loans and financing, as well as waiver of late charges and fees for affected customers. Meanwhile, Agrobank offers a 6-month moratorium and free replacement of bank documents, as well as special financing facilities to help customers recover their affected businesses. Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad reintroduced the Prihatin Banjir program, including the postponement of monthly installments for up to 6 months for home, personal, and vehicle loans. Hong Leong Bank and Hong Leong Islamic Bank offer a flood relief program that provides payment deferrals of up to 6 months for various credit facilities. Still ahead in our business segment, Deputy Premier proposes BSN loan scheme for Tibet.
The number of malicious and false statements spread by SMS or social media platforms have become too widespread. The public is advised to be careful and not fall for such ploys and sharing or forwarding such messages. Remember that spreading fake news is an offence under Section 233 of the Communications and Multimedia Act 1998. This carries the penalty of a fine not exceeding 50,000 ringgit or up to 1 year imprisonment or both upon conviction.
Padi Beras Nasional Berhad Bernas supports the government's efforts to ensure that the price of imported white rice is lower. This is to ease the burden of the people's cost of living. In line with the announcement by the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Datuk Seri Muhammad Sabu, yesterday, Bernas will implement a price reduction at the Bernas warehouse gate in Peninsula Malaysia from 3,000 to 2,800 ringgit per tonne, effective 1st December. Bernas said this price adjustment is in line with the strengthening of the ringgit against the US dollar and is driven by the current price decline in the world rice market following the recent lifting of the export ban and the abolition of export duties on non-basmati white rice by the Indian government. In March, Bernas reduced the imported white rice price from 3,200 ringgit to 3,000 ringgit per tonne in Peninsula Malaysia, even though at the time the price trend was still at its highest level in 15 years. This clearly demonstrates Bernas' commitment to always working closely with the ministry and industry players to ensure product availability and support the food security agenda. Currently, Malaysia continues to offer the lowest rice import prices in the Southeast Asian region. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi has proposed that Bank Simpanan Nasional (BSN) introduce an education loan scheme for technical and vocational education and training TVET programs. Datuk Seri Dr. Ahmad Zahid, who is also the Rural and Regional Development Minister, said the initiative aims to help young people, particularly in rural areas, gain access to educational opportunities, including in TVET streams. He said BSN is a strategic partner of the Rural and Regional Development Ministry, and this collaboration must be strengthened to improve the economic and living standards of the people, especially in rural areas, including in the field of education. He suggested that BSN support rural education by offering simple education loan schemes for youths in the rural areas, especially those pursuing TVET education or halal-related entrepreneurship. The Deputy Premier also proposed that BSN introduce a special microfinancing scheme for small entrepreneurs in rural areas, with the ministry assisting in identifying target groups such as rural women, youths and farmers. He emphasized that strengthening the strategic partnership between the ministry and BSN is essential to empower rural economies and foster financial literacy among rural communities. Prasarana Malaysia Berhad Prasarana has strengthened its standard operating procedures for passenger management, particularly during peak hours. This is following a congestion issue at the Pasar Seni MRT station that went viral on social media on 26 November. Prasarana said the incident occurred around 6:45 p.m. during the evening peak period due to a train service delay, which disrupted passenger movement and led to crowding on the platform. To prevent a reoccurrence, Prasarana has implemented several improvements, including redeploying auxiliary police personnel to critical areas, such as platforms and escalators, to ensure better safety and crowd control. The company has also increased monitoring frequency to assess passenger density at stations, particularly at platforms during peak hours. Prasarana added that MRT Kajang line services will be enhanced with an increase in trains from 39 to 42 by March next year, aimed at boosting train capacity and alleviating congestion along the line. It said train frequency will also be improved, with intervals reduced from 4 to 3.7 minutes, which will shorten platform waiting times, especially during peak hours. The ringgit is expected to trade within the range of 4.4275 to 4.4475 versus the American dollar next week, with a slight upside bias on anticipation of a U.S. interest rate cut in December. The U.S. Federal Reserve's Fed next policy meeting is scheduled for 17th to 18th December. SBI Asset Management Managing Director Stephen Ines said predicting the US dollar's movement next week remains challenging, especially with US President-elect Donald Trump's unpredictable actions. He noted that markets currently interpret his tariff threats as a negotiation strategy to secure concessions from trading partners, rather than an outright declaration of a trade battle. Ines said intention will also turn to US jobs data on 6th December. He said if the report meets expectations or falls short, it will likely solidify the prospects of a December Fed rate cut. Conversely, a strong report could introduce some uncertainty and support the US dollar. The ringgit was mixed against the US dollar this week, but strengthened on improved sentiment from declining US bond yields, less hawkish Fed meeting minutes, and broader regional currency gains. However, it faced pressure midweek due to concerns over potential US tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and China. In another development, Stephen Ines said the gold futures contract on Bursa Malaysia derivatives is expected to hover within a narrow range next week within its current price. Now, he said the gold market trading has stabilized as the impetus from anticipated 2025 US Federal Reserve rate cuts and geopolitical tensions has diminished. Ines expressed confidence that gold will stay in demand as investors continue to view it as a reliable hedge against trade uncertainty. Meanwhile, he noted that any flare-up in trade tensions could dramatically rekindle interest in gold as a safe haven. For the week just ended, he said gold futures showed mixed trends, fluctuating between mirroring the U.S. COMEX momentum and subdued demand. At times, such as on Friday, it ended flat, with analysts attributing the lackluster performance to reduced trading during the long Thanksgiving holiday. On a Friday-to-Friday basis, volume rose to 127 lots from 39 lots last week, while open interest decreased to 22 contracts from 28 contracts previously. The Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture, MOTEC, will leverage ASEAN platforms to promote Visit Malaysia Year 2026, positioning the country as a key regional and global tourism destination. MOTEC Secretary General Dato' Roslan Abdul Rahman emphasized that as ASEAN chair for next year, Malaysia will seize strategic opportunities to showcase its tourist destinations, unique arts, culture and heritage. He further noted that the launch of Visit Malaysia Year 2026 is part of the ministry's plan. He explained that the ministry will employ programs under Malaysia's ASEAN chairmanship next year to the fullest for promotional purposes. Malaysia will officially assume the ASEAN chairmanship on January 1st, 2025, with the theme Inclusivity and Sustainability, and will host over 300 related meetings, programs and summits. Meanwhile, the Visit Malaysia Year 2026 campaign is expected to attract 35.6 million international tourists, generating an estimated revenue of 147.1 billion ringgit. Members of the ASEAN Freight Forwarders Association are encouraged to use their platform to raise pressing issues and propose solutions to policymakers in their respective countries. Chairman Alvin Chua emphasized that the association must acknowledge its crucial role not only within logistics ecosystems, but also as a key influencer in shaping policy recommendations. By doing so, he noted that the association can help ensure the adaptation of policies that promote seamless trade, particularly among ASEAN member countries. He said the association's collective efforts must focus on promoting integration, reducing barriers, and enabling a robust, resilient logistics framework across the region. Alvin emphasized that the ASEAN Framework Agreement on the Facilitation of Goods in Transit, the ASEAN Framework Agreement on the Facilitation of Interstate Transport, and the ASEAN Framework Agreement on Multimodal Transport play vital roles in facilitating and enhancing cross-border trade. Members must therefore align their strategies accordingly to effectively address critical issues while being proactive to ensure their representation in relevant government forums to advance the industry's interests. Well, that concludes this evening's Malaysia Tonight. In our top story, KWAP's Wakaf Land project to boost elderly welfare. Now do tune in to World Today coming up tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. on TV2. Till then, I'm Otto Othman. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thanks for watching.